Okay, we'll call tonight's meeting to order. We have, I guess, 2 days and then we can take off the mask. So, but we're not going to keep you here for 2 days. That's a promise at any rate. So we'll start off, call the meeting to order, and closed session report.
There's nothing to report.
Mr. Lapper, would you lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Luevanos?
Here.
Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Here.
Councilmember Judge?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Litster?
Here.
Mayor Mashburn?
Here. Okay, time for the agenda review. Does anybody have any additions, deletions, or modifications?
Mr. Mayor, we do have one supplemental for item 8B. There was some changes requested. The city has tentatively agreed to in some of the provisions on the MOU. They are delineated in the supplemental before you this evening.
Okay, thank you.
I move that all resolutions and ordinances presented tonight be read in title only and all further reading be waived.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. We'll call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, declaration of conflict. If any member of the city council may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration of any matter on this agenda, he or she should so declare at this time. Do we have anybody that needs to declare a conflict? No. Okay, moving ahead.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the first item on the agenda is item 1D1, Certificates of Appreciation to outgoing Special Event Support Review Committee members, and Heidi DiNardo is here for this presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and members of the City Council. Tonight we are recognizing 5 Special Event Support Review Committee members who donated their time to review 6 special event grant applications requesting $30,000 and had the difficult job of making grant funding recommendations of $25,000 to the City Council. Committee members chaired a public meeting held on December 15th, 2021, and listened diligently to presentations from many of the city's nonprofit organizations. Tonight, we would like to recognize these individuals for their generous service given to the community as a Special Event Support Review Committee member. I'd like to first take a moment to recognize Pat Lewis, representing Neighborhood Council Number 1, who volunteered but was not able to attend the presentation meeting. And now I'd like to invite any of the committee members who might be in attendance to come down to the podium. I don't believe I have any this evening. They let me know, but I'd like to recognize them. From Neighborhood Council Number 4, Chair Michelle Scharf. From the Council on Aging, Vice Chair Janet Plant. From Neighborhood Council Number 2, Teresa Ramirez. And from Neighborhood Council Number 3, Tammy Wirtz. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and thank you to each of them. They probably sometimes don't realize what a task it becomes.
Next item on the agenda is item 1D2, a proclamation declaring February 2022 as Black History Month, and Samantha Argabright is presenting this item.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and members of the City Council. Whereas the celebration of Black history can be traced back to 1926 when writer and scholar Dr. Carter G. Woodson, author of Black History, began the annual observance each February to coincide with the days of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln to recognize the contributions of Black Americans in the nation's history. And whereas in 1976, February was proclaimed by President Gerald Ford as Black History Month to recognize the important and innumerable contributions made to our nation's life and culture by Black citizens. And whereas the 2022 theme for Black History Month is Black Health and Wellness, and the Simi Valley City Council recognizes that Black Americans have endured egregious discrimination and bigotry throughout our nation's history, which has led to African Americans being more likely to die at an early age from all causes, being misdiagnosed, and impacted by inequities in the healthcare system. And whereas Black History Month serves as a reminder to continue the fight for justice and equality for all, combat racism, and continue to build a more diverse, supportive, inclusive, and protective community. And whereas we affirm the importance of Black health and wellness and encourage all to seek opportunities to eliminate barriers to empower Black people to promote and protect their health and wellness. And whereas Black History Month is a prompt to the citizens of Simi Valley to reflect on the sacrifices and contributions made by generations of African Americans and continue the nation's march toward a day when every person knows the unalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and to build a better and brighter future. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Simi Valley does hereby proclaim the month of February 2022 as Black History Month in the City of Simi Valley to celebrate the rich contributions that the Black Americans have made to our society.
Thank you, and Simi Valley and this council is proud to make this proclamation.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 1D3, a proclamation declaring February 2022 as American Heart Month, and Samantha Argabright is presenting this item as well.
Good evening. Today, on a day synonymous with hearts, the City Council recognizes American Heart Month. I will now read the proclamation. Whereas cardiovascular disease affects people of every age and race in the United States and took the lives of over 868,000 people in 2018, an increase over 2017. And whereas cardiovascular diseases are the #1 killer of women in the United States, accounting for 1 in every female deaths. Whereas women from racial and ethnic minority populations, including Black, Hispanic, Asian American, and Native American women, and women from indigenous populations are at a higher risk of death from cardiovascular diseases, but are less likely to know the risk. And whereas the American Heart Association encourages individuals to adopt life's simple 7 to stay healthy: be active, maintain a healthy weight, learn about cholesterol, don't smoke or use smokeless tobacco, eat a heart-healthy diet, maintain a healthy blood pressure, and learn about blood sugar and diabetes. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Simi Valley, in recognition of the importance of the ongoing fight against heart disease and stroke, does hereby proclaim February of 2022 as American Heart Month in the City of Simi Valley and urges all residents to take action for their heart health.
If I could, are all of you aware of the recent heart attack by Jim Visage? And I think we're very fortunate that the hospital here in Simi Valley has a very advanced heart lab or cath lab, and that's where it's my understanding that Jim was first taken and stabilized, and then ultimately had open heart surgery and is doing quite well. And so it's kind of ironic that he chose to go through this on Heart Month, so very good.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 2, public statements on appointments, special presentations, and informational reports. All comments submitted by email have been provided to the City Council. However, they will not be read by the clerk this evening. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted, followed by speakers who are signed on to Zoom to speak for public statements item 2 for a period of no more than 3 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Mr. Mayor, we currently have no speaker cards for item 2, but we can check on Zoom.
Okay, Zoom,
There are no speakers on Zoom for this item.
okay.
Mr. Mayor,
I think let's offer up, is anybody planning on speaking that just walked in? Okay, great, okay, thank you. Next item.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3A1, appointment of 2 youth council members, and Kristen Tignack will be presenting this item.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn and members of the City Council. The Apollo High School and 1 alternate community-at-large representative positions on the Simi Valley Youth Council have been vacant since November 17th and September 2nd, respectively. To achieve full membership, On the Youth Council, a special recruitment was initiated on January 7th and concluded on January 26th. A total of 8 applications were received. On February 2nd, an interview committee comprised of 3 current Youth Council members conducted interviews and nominated Ariana Reyes and Jasleen Sidhu for the vacant Apollo High School and alternate community-at-large representative positions. The Youth Council Selection Committee recommends that the City Council approve and the mayor appoint Ariana Reyes and Jasleen Sidhu to the Simi Valley Youth Council as the Apollo High School and alternate community-at-large representatives to serve the remainder of the unexpired one-year terms on the Simi Valley Youth Council, commencing on February 15th and concluding on June 30th, 2022. This concludes staff's report, and I would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Okay. Comments or motion?
I will make a motion, if that's right. I move to approve and the mayor appoint Ariana Reyes and Jasleen Sidhu to the Simi Valley Youth Council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
And the mayor hereby appoints.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 5, public statements. This is the time for public statements on all items other than public hearings, appointments, and informational reports. All comments submitted by email have been provided to the City Council. However, they will not be read by the clerk this evening. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted, followed by speakers who are signed onto Zoom to speak for this public statements item 5 for a period of no more than 3 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Mr. Mayor, unless you have any other comments, we can begin public speaking.
No comments, ready for this first speaker.
We have 2 speaker cards for this item. John Lapper.
Oh, what a night. Valentine's Eve with Mayor Mashburn and the City Council. For those in the viewing audience playing Simi Valley City Council bingo, yes, John Lapper will be mentioning Neighborhood Council and fireworks. Yes, the Rams won and Simi celebrated with the usual fireworks. Yes, I will be attending the Neighborhood Council District Number 4 meeting tomorrow night as a resident, which reminds me of the New York District Court judge dismissing Sarah Palin's 5-year defamation of character lawsuit because the New York Times admitted they got the story wrong, retracted the story, and apologized, thus righting the wrong before there was actual damage. And here we have Mayor Mashburn and 3 other council members refusing to second my nomination for Neighborhood Council last meeting, which would have righted a wrong by Mayor Mashburn. You could have then voted me down fair and square. By the way, I had a nice chat with the Ventura County District Attorney's Office last Monday. While they are investigating for possible Brown Act violation or misconduct, I'm not optimistic anything will come of it. However, Mayor Mashburn and Simi Valley are once again frowned on by others in the county. Which brings me to Mayor Mashburn and his bully pulpit from the dais. Last city council meeting, Mayor Mashburn disingenuously thanked me for not calling him a liar for the first time at a city council meeting. Amazing thing about the City Council YouTube and my copies of my public statements, they do not lie. Mayor Mashburn, your comment was blatantly false, as I explained in an email to you, which of course you ignored. I have not called you a liar at a council meeting. That comment, along with the fact you said you would nominate all 17 candidates for Neighborhood Council and did not do as you said you would by nominating the other 16 candidates and then not me, would make your statement false. Are those lies? I make no judgment, Mayor Mashburn. It is obvious 2 words are a trigger for you, liar and racism. From now on, I will be focusing on my precious 3 minutes of Simi Valley freedom of speech on issues facing our community. Motorcycle traffic control and speeding, fireworks, Santa Susana Field lab cleanup, our roads in disrepair, affordable housing, a salary for the Senior Center Food Program coordinator, code enforcement, inefficient use of our police manpower, like 3 armed guards patrolling at every city council meeting, plus Chief Livingstone. I would love someone to explain that need. Lastly, a thank you to President Biden for some of our streets finally getting a patch job. And a big shout out to Catherine Nesney, a Democrat advocate and beautiful person who passed away from pancreatic cancer. You will always be with us as we speak up for what is right. Thank you, Council.
Thank you.
Elena Johnson?
Good evening, everybody. I would just like to pull down my mask a little bit because I'm having a hard time with my eyeglasses. It's fogging off. If you don't mind, I ask for your indulgence. So my name is Elena Johnson, and I think almost every meeting I have been here to speak to the Simi Valley City Council. And I love that freedom. I come from the Philippines. For 16 years, we were under the dictatorship of Marcos, and we had no way to have our voices heard. So having the opportunity now, I'm feeling the love of Valentine's Day that I'm here in front of you. So I want to speak on 3 items only. The first one is I saw in the consent calendar about districts of Simi Valley, voting districts, and I'd like to make my idea on that known here, that I don't think we need to change it, that we should have the 4 districts here. I know you have voted, and I understand that Councilwoman Lubibaños abstained on it because she needed more information. I totally respect that. But as a citizen, I've been here since 1984, on and off. We have 126,000 people here, 4 districts with about 30,000, 35,000 to be able to make those decisions, I think is fair enough. And I'm new in the game of being involved politically in this arena, right? So if I had my choice many years ago or 2 years ago when the election took place that you wanted to have everybody elected by districts, I probably would have fought that. I think that I believe I heard Joe talk last time that 88% of our residents voted in the last election. That's a good sampling of what people think and the involvement of our city. I have known Simi Valley to be a dedicated group of citizens that would want their voices to be heard. So here I am. I'm letting you know that we keep it at 4. One of the things that I learned from American democracy is that if it broke, don't fix it. It's not broken, let's not fix it. The second thing that I'm here to talk about is we have a federal system of government where we have checks and balances. I don't know the level of cooperation that this district has with regard to our school board, but our school board is a runaway school board that is fostering a lot of negativity and hate. Once we talk about inclusion and once we talk about equity and all of that, unless you do a good job of teaching the kids and letting them see the other side of things, you will end up developing kids who have hatred for anybody that is not their color. And I say that because I was in my classroom the other day and I just showed a film on exponential decay function, and right away the boy said, "Mrs. Johnson, how come there's no black boys there?" Dude, we're talking about exponential decay function. This is not the arena where you have to tell me your politics, right? So I have 6 seconds. Again, my third point is that I trust you, right? I know that you do your job correctly, and I love you for that. Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day to you.
David, do we have anyone on Zoom?
Yes, there's one member of the public on Zoom, Mr. Pachowski.
Good evening, Mayor Mashburn, members of the City Council. In the interest of keeping things brief, I just want to reiterate my support for leaving the districts alone. As far as other business that you've got before you tonight, you've got a measure on, you've got a agenda item on there to support the initiative, which would fight Senate Bill 9. And I just wanted to point out that I think that that's a great way to fight Senate Bill 9. I know that Councilmember Judge has already endorsed the initiative. I encourage everyone on the council to endorse it. But I also wanted to call your attention to what one Silicon Valley town is doing to fight Senate Bill 9. They've declared themselves a mountain lion habitat. And under Senate Bill 9, when there is an endangered species it preempts, it has a clause that prohibits building on land identified as habitat for protected species. So I would suggest that the city of Simi Valley might also want to consider declaring itself a habitat for endangered mountain lions, as we're constantly looking at, constantly hearing about mountain lions roaming through our neighborhoods. And that would be another way to protect us from Senate Bill 9. I encourage you to take that up on a future agenda item. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Mr. Mayor, we have one more speaker card.
Okay.
Cheryl Welch.
Hello, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I wasn't sure what I was speaking on tonight. I was just going to talk about my usual. I'm going to take a book out of John Lapper's playbook and just speak about what I know. And that's pretty much my street and all of the building that's going on in Simi. Sorry, I just ran to get here.
Okay, that's
Got off work
okay.
too late. So I'm glad Joe Pachowski spoke about, the mountain lion thing. I think that's great because that kind of leads into what I wanted to speak about anyway with SB 9. I did have some pictures on my phone of basically what I deal with all the time. So I have a picture of a shopping cart on my lawn, car parked in front of the fire hydrant, another car this much sticking out into my driveway. So I have to make like this wide arc to pull into my driveway. We have no parking, so there's 3 of us that kind of cram into our driveway because there's no parking, because of more building, because you've got, where I live on Fairbanks Avenue, you've got apartments and then you've got all those condos, and we've got a lot of riffraff and different people that come through those condos all the time. It's a revolving door. Last week, the last city council meeting, when I went home, there were a couple guys in front of my house on their bikes, dead center in front of my house, just getting as loaded as they possibly could be. And so I actually did a little shopping at Kohl's, came back, they were still there. My husband did walk outside and then they left. So I mean, these are the kind of things that I deal with all the time. There's a cul-de-sac, there's constant traffic of the same nature going on. I have kids, they're aware of it. And so that's my hesitation. Bellwood, it's gonna be it's a monstrosity. It's gonna be a nightmare for those people in that neighborhood. If I'm dealing with one complex on my street, imagine what that's gonna bring. And there's no parking. There's no parking on my street. I'm just wondering, I know there's nothing we can do about it, but just for all the future building that's going on in Simi, this is what I deal with. And I'm just one house. Other people on my street deal with different things as well, the same type of thing. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. One last thing, I don't know if I should share it here, but I might as well, because I'm of the mindset, see something, say something. When I was on my way home 2 weeks ago from here, because I just take Township home, not Township, but this one here, for the library, and it really, I feel funny saying it, but it really looked to me, and I did call the police department, like there could have been some little hustling going on. It was a cold night, and there was a woman in a car and a flashlight. It just really looked to me like that's what was going on. Right there in Simi Valley, this is a residential neighborhood. So anyway, I did call the police. I just, again, see something, say something. These are all things I think every resident would want to know in Simi Valley so that we can be kind of have our eyes and our ears open. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. And I do encourage you to do the whole SB 9. Just keep it on the low down. Whatever we can do, because again, we're going to be dealing with more and more of what I deal with, but probably on a much bigger level. Thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize. We have one more, Mr. Bamford. Number 8. Almost forgot about you. Yes.
Something has to do here. My hearing aids are already done because of these things. So I need either glasses or this thing. I was going to speak on 8A, but I guess she already started, so I guess I can do that. 8A is all right? Okay. I've lived here since 1975. When I first moved in, I lived in Santa Susana, and which I thought that was great. Then we became a city, which I didn't like. Still don't like the name of it, because I feel that, to me, a city is like Los Angeles. And we have more of the feelings of a town, which is more family-friendly. And to me, a city divides people. A town has the feelings of bringing people together. I know you're not going to change, but my 2 cents worth. But I think that this Neighborhood Voices initiative is a step in the right direction. And for my last thing, I'd like to wish all the ladies in the audience happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, next on the agenda is item 5A, City Council comments regarding public statements.
Okay, anybody have comments? Councilmember Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out and expressing your opinions, especially on a night where you probably should be with your significant other. But thank you again for coming out and expressing those opinions.
Councilmember Luminos.
Sorry, Mayor. I was trying to unmute myself. You know, I'll save my comments for 8A when we get to 8A. In terms of the traffic, I have been asking since I got elected for us to look at public transportation options, look at ways that we can revamp our buses so that we can reduce traffic, we can reduce our dependency on vehicles. I'm going to continue to push for that, and I hope that you help me advocate to increase our usage of our bike pathways and our walk pathways and our buses, and hopefully we can get some buses with Wi-Fi on them that are electric buses. I've been pushing for that as well. But it's a collective issue that we have to deal with in terms of traffic and parking, and I know that there's solutions out there. Other cities have done it. So I appreciate you bringing it up, and I'll continue to push for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Actually, I'd just like to echo that I am with Councilmember Judge. Thank you for coming out on Valentine's Day and sharing your thoughts. And I wanted to concur with Mr. Bamforth that I do think that this is a family-friendly town or city, whatever you want to call it, but that's what this community is, of whatever size, even at a population of 126,000, I think that we are a community that works and pulls together. And so I appreciate you giving us the historical perspective, Mr. Bamforth. Thank you so much.
Okay, next item.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 6, the consent calendar, and there are 2 resolutions for your consideration this evening. Consent item 3, resolution number 2022-05, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley confirming and renewing the proclamation of the existence of a local emergency, and resolution number 2022-06, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley confirming the existence of a local emergency and authorizing remote teleconference meetings of the legislative bodies of the City of Simi Valley pursuant to Brown Act provisions.
Okay, are we gonna, any items pulled of the 3?
Mayor, I just have a quick question on item number 2 on the consent calendar.
Number 2? Okay, anybody else?
Yes, item number 1, I need to make some changes to the minutes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and just start with the minutes and make those changes.
Thank you. Page 7, which is, I'm sorry, let me get there. Page 7, underneath the consent calendar, you will notice that in both occasions it says we voted on consent calendar item 2. Under 6.1, it should say we voted to approve consent calendar item 1. So that's at the bottom of 7. Needs to be changed. Got it? And then the other change is on page 9, which is item 8A, when we were voting on, we took several votes, et cetera. If you'll notice, the second action that is listed I moved something and then it fails to mention who seconded it. I believe that that was Councilmember Luevanos, who needs to be added there as the second.
That is correct. I concur with that. Yes.
Okay,
Thank you, that was it for me.
okay. And questions on number 2?
Yes, this is for the city manager. It does say that authorizes the city manager to approve, as I'm on page 2 of the report, authorizes the city manager to approve subsequent contract amendments to extend the contracts for up to 2 additional one-year terms. Is there an amount on that, like a dollar amount on that? Or is it the same amount, the $145,000?
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Basically, the dollar amount remains the same.
Okay.
It's a $300,000 contract, and if it's extended to year 2 and year 3, it'll still be an overall 300,000, or excuse me, not 300,000. It was 145
And 300,000 from federal funds.
$300,000.
Yeah.
So that's for the whole 3 years if we go that far.
Okay, so it'd be the same amount that's in there. Okay, that's it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, looking for a motion?
Mayor, I move to approve consent items 1, 2, and 3 from the consent calendar.
Second?
Motion and second, call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 7A, second reading of ordinance number 1334, adopting a map describing voting district boundaries and amending Title II of Chapter 4 of the Simi Valley Municipal Code. The reading of the ordinance is as follows. Ordinance number 1334, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley adopting a map describing voting district boundaries and amending Title II of Chapter 4 of the Simi Valley Municipal Code. And the consultant is available for questions.
Okay, discussion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance.
Mayor, I had a question.
Okay, Councilmember Levinos?
Is the consultant here? Yes, there she is online. Okay. Sorry, I was looking for a person. I
Hello,
wasn't
good
sure where to
evening.
look. Yes, again, I'm going to ask the same question, and hopefully you'll answer my question this time. Why was the public not given the same access to data as you had, as NDC had? So that they could see that the maps that they drew were not
for
in
the
compliance.
most part, the public does have access to the exact same data as NDC does.
Well,
So I'm not
the most
sure.
part concerns
I guess
me.
I don't understand what data you're referring to.
The most part concerns me because when people use the tools that were available online, and I know because I use the tools as well with them because I'm a geography teacher, so I'm like, yeah, I know how to use GIS tools. It looked like the maps that were submitted were in compliance and based on the data that was available to the public. And so I used the same tools that they did, and I got the same result that they did, that it looked like they were in compliance, that they were under the threshold of 10% of variance. And when the data that you used didn't demonstrate that, and so my concern is with the process. Our mission statement says that we'll be held accountable. And so when we do not apprise the public of the same process that, meets the legal regulations of variance, in order for the maps to meet legal muster, then there's a concern there for me. And so I would have liked to.
I hear you,
delay this
Council
process.
Member. I believe you're referring to just one map that was submitted by a member of the public. And the member of the public overlooked a feature on the website that indicated that a significant chunk of population was not assigned in their map. So that, I believe, is user error, and there's really nothing that we can do other than provide a tool and, to the best of our ability, provide instructions on how to use the tool. But if there is user error, that is not in any way malicious or reflective of a lack of access to data.
Well, I'm not accusing you of maliciousness. I'm just saying that, if that's something that other people overlook and that prevents people from being able to, use the tools effectively, then that's something that I would hope that in the future, that when NDC works with municipalities, especially with ours, that specific error that is overlooked is something that is highlighted so that, the public does not have the same issue.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Litzner.
Thank you. I know that we're ready to motion, but I'd just like to make some comments about the process and about some of the speakers that we had last time. And it wasn't an opportunity, so I'll be brief. But I do recall there was a discussion, and the gentleman who did map 202 was very interested in explaining why he wanted to have a 5-district map. And I think we kind of summarily dismissed that, but I think I wanted to be sure that tonight that I wanted to acknowledge that could be a possibility. But to achieve that 5-district map, it would mean we would have to either change where the mayor is not elected at large and represents that 5th district, or we would go to, or if we had 6 elected officials, then you have an even number, et cetera. And so there are some problems with that 5-district map that make it very difficult, because you do want an odd number of people here, sitting up here making decisions, so there can be a majority decision. But I wanted to acknowledge his efforts of last time. But I also wanted to acknowledge that the work that was done several years ago was really quite good, and that's the reason we are going forward with the same maps, that our current population deviation is 3.76%, and that is well below the 10% threshold, which suggests that the 4 districts are quite well balanced, or are relatively well balanced. And that also means that those who didn't get a chance to vote in 2020 will have a chance certainly to vote in 2022, because changes are not being made. If we were to have made any changes to District 2 and 4 that moved the lines, unless it made them bigger, that means there would be some people who resided that maybe would lose an opportunity to vote. So I just wanted to commend the process, and that our deviation is such a small deviation. And then the last thing I just wanted to share, I was thinking about the comment again that was made last time. Someone had talked about the Strathern Historical Society and felt that it was a community of interest was not being represented there. And I thought, how could that be the case? And so I thought more about maybe what he was trying to suggest. And it is true that the Strathern Historical Society resides in District 4. Much of our old town homes that might be of historical significance reside in District 3. So you could make the argument that maybe we've separated that. But the more I thought about it, I thought actually what it does is it makes it stronger, because you have 2 district representatives who would be concerned about the historical significance of Simi Valley, theoretically. And so I just wanted to acknowledge, though, that comment that was made last time, and not just to brush it aside. But I do, again, want to leave that I think that this has been I appreciate the work and thought and forethought that's gone into this process, and so certainly support going forward with the districts as they are currently aligned. So thank you for letting me make those comments.
Thank you. I'd just like to point out that, especially to the constituency, as we talk about districts, we're dealing with district maps and what have you, but I think it's appropriate to reinforce that the representative for that district votes for the entire city. And for us to sit up here and go district, district, district when it comes to voting is maybe disingenuous to a point, because when you vote, even in our system of districts, you're voting for the entire city. And I think that's something that we should often point out to the residents and make sure they understand their vote is not only, their representative's vote is not only for their particular district, it's for the entire city.
I move to adopt ordinance number 1334 without modification.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Call for the vote.
The motion passes with Councilmember Luevano's voting no.
And I'm voting no just because I do feel the process was flawed, and that our public did not have all of the data that they needed to fully participate in this process. not because there's nothing wrong with the districts, just the process itself.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 8A, discussion and possible adoption of a resolution to support our Neighborhood Voices Initiative, AKA the Brand Wang Mendoza Tripartisan Land Use Initiative, to amend Section 7 of Article 11 of the Constitution of the State of California to make zoning and land use a community affair and not a matter of state interest. The reading of the resolution is as follows. Resolution number 2022-07, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley in support of the Brand Wang Mendoza Tripartisan Land Use Initiative, Our Neighborhood Voices, to amend Article 11 of the Constitution of the State of California to make zoning and land use community affairs and not of state interest. And Samantha Argabright is presenting this item.
Good evening again. During the January 24th, 2022 City Council meeting, Mayor Pro Tem Litster requested that the City Council consider taking a position to support the Our Neighborhood Voices initiative. Over the past legislature has passed numerous laws restricting the ability of local government to make land use, zoning, and planning decisions, including the recently passed SB 9. For the most part, these new laws do not require affordable housing to be built, just that more housing is built. The initiative, also known as Ballot Measure 1910, would amend the state of California's Constitution to provide that adopted local land use and zoning laws will prevail over conflicting state laws. While the state could continue to enact legislation related to local zoning and land use, local laws would generally prevail over state law, returning local control to communities. State land use planning laws that address legitimate statewide interests, such as coastal protection and large infrastructure projects, will continue to supersede any conflicting local laws. According to its proponents, the initiative was written to ensure full compliance with all state environmental laws, all fair housing and anti-discrimination laws, and does not conflict with CEQA. The initiative is currently gathering signatures to qualify for the November 2022 general election, and the proponents of the initiative have until May 2nd, 2022 to submit sufficient signatures to the California Secretary of State. Currently, there are 34 cities in support of the initiative, up from the 29 cities when the staff report was written. In addition to the Southern California Association of Governments, California Contract Cities Association, and the South Bay Council of Governments. The city of Camarillo is one of the new cities added. They are currently the only Ventura County city included on the list of support. If the initiative receives sufficient signatures to be placed on the November 2022 ballot and is passed by the voters, local control for the most part will be returned to local governments. Should the City Council wish to support this initiative, the adoption of Resolution 2022-07 is required. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for questions.
Councilmember Luepanos.
Thank you, Mayor. Do you recall last month that I asked for I requested consideration of an inclusionary ordinance for the city of Simi Valley?
I believe that was an item you brought up under 9B.
Yes, and was there a second for that? Do you recall?
I don't recall.
Okay, there was no second for that motion. So in order for us to, if most cities like Moore Park, right, and several of our neighbors in Ventura County have inclusionary ordinances to promote the building of affordable homes. Is that correct?
Say that again? I'm sorry, I didn't hear all of what you said.
Do other municipalities adjacent to us, including Moore Park, have inclusionary ordinances so that they can promote the building of affordable homes?
I believe there are some that are working on it. I don't have the information in front of me as to which cities have or do not have. I know that there has been a potential for a generic inclusionary ordinance, but I don't know who's adopted that yet and where that is in this process.
Can we as a municipality choose to, if our priority is affordable housing, what do most cities do? Do they pass inclusionary ordinances?
I think at this point we have to be a little bit careful to stay on the agenda, on the item in particular. That might be
Well,
going just a
the
little.
staff report specifically mentions affordable housing as a concern, and that is one of the justifications for this resolution. That's why I'm asking about affordable housing.
I think you're also talking about the adoption of a possible inclusionary ordinance. And so that was something I think that was previously brought up on 9B. I think you have to be careful how far you go here.
I'm asking very general questions as it relates to the staff report, in terms of how do we meet that need? Are there other ways to meet the need besides this resolution?
Okay.
Can I ask staff that question?
I believe it was asked and answered, but
Can you just clarify? Yes, could we pass an inclusionary ordinance if our concern is affordable housing?
If that's the council's will to pass an inclusionary ordinance, then that is the council's will.
Okay. And have we ever met? We could, as a municipality, promote affordable housing. Is that correct?
For affordable housing, I might defer to the city manager, but I'm going to take a stab at it. There was the ability for the city to support much more affordable housing when we had redevelopment.
Okay. And we have had affordable housing projects come before the city and they have been turned down. Is that correct?
I do not agree with that.
Okay. I have seen proposals for affordable housing that have been shot down by the city council.
I'm not aware of any that have been.
The only project that I'm aware of that was turned down by the city council that had any affordability was a apartment project up here on Avenue to Simi that was not received well by the neighborhood. That's the only, in my time here, that's the only affordable project that the city council has ever turned down.
Okay.
And if I could add on that, there's also the proposal for a development on that property that, would I be accurate in saying it's all affordable?
Yes, currently we're working with Habitat for Humanity on an affordable project on that site now.
So what we did, we traded one that wasn't great for another one that is great, as far as the numbers of affordable units.
well, I'm sorry to interrupt again. The way I see it, we're talking about an adoption of a resolution to support this particular initiative. And I do think we're starting to get a little far afield as far as a discussion on affordable housing, the different tools that are generally available to the cities. And so I would just caution that we should stay on the agenda in particular. I know there's some latitude, but you have to be careful.
Yeah, so I think we're on the right track now. We'll go back to the right track, excuse me. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Mayor, I would just like the opportunity before we vote on this to make a comment at some point in time, but I would like to get my colleagues the opportunity to speak on this.
Okay, well,
Thank you, Mayor.
other comments?
I'll make a comment. Thank you. SB 9, I know was passed by our legislature, but when it got down to the cities, it became a little bit more detailed as to what was going to happen, that your neighbor could split your lot. And so that's been a concern, I think, both bipartisan. It's not just one side of the aisle and the other. So I think looking at this, I'm sorry, what was it called? Our Neighborhood Values? Our Neighborhood Voices. I wasn't familiar with it, so I actually went in and did my research and went on their website and saw it. It's basically trying to get an initiative on the ballot that then every Californian can vote for. So to me, that's a positive because it's a way to put something on the ballot that you can vote yes or no on yourself. And so I'm in favor of this at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. A couple questions and then just some comments. As I understand it, our neighborhood initiative, Voices Initiative, truly, as I read the report, and of course initially I was thinking about it with reaction to SB 9, SB 10, but there was a list of other local controls that have been removed. Is that an accurate statement?
The state legislature has been passing laws over the last few years that do remove local control for zoning and planning from the cities, and the effort of this initiative would be to return it to those cities, presuming that the will of the people votes it up.
And one of the things in the report, which maybe Councilmember Luevas was alluding to, was that much of this would increase the quantity of housing. For instance, SB 9 would be up to 4 more. You would split a single-family residence would be split in half, and you could put 2 units on each, so 1 would go to 4, et cetera. But all of this is hypothetical. Well, basically, it makes more housing, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's more affordable housing. Is that a correct statement? As I read through this, and as I've learned a lot about it, there's concern that truly what it might be doing sometimes is pricing out just those very people who you want them to purchase a affordable starter home, et cetera, but in essence, then it becomes more expensive because it now has more value because more homes can be placed on that property. And so theoretically, it could even be potentially harming some of these laws, those who you very much want to benefit. Is that a fair statement?
I think at this point, obviously, it'll take a little while for all of the laws to go into effect practically, while they are effective now, and to see what it does to the market. But as many of these laws have not provided any requirements for affordable housing, there's no guarantee that as a result of the additional housing that more would be built. So we'll kind of see what the market does based on all of the additional housing that is built.
I will tell you that I thought that it was an absolutely beautifully written resolution. And I don't know if Sam, if you're the one that actually wrote that resolution. Normally, it was, in fact, I want to tell the Acorn that they should go look at that resolution and quote, and normally I wouldn't say that, but quote specifically the rationale for this resolution. It was just beautifully put together. And so I just wanted to put that on the record. I think it's interesting to note that this is, in my mind, as you look at it, it's completely nonpartisan. You have supporters from all sides of the aisle. Basically, it's a desire to allow those people where they live who have spent countless hours with their general plans and with their zoning, et cetera, but to basically return that authority to them who know their neighborhood and their city the best. Wouldn't that be accurate?
I would say that definitely the effort is to return local control to the cities, and recognizing that the cities do spend much time on their general plans to allow for the appropriate housing mix that they need in each community.
So anyway, thank you for answering those questions. And I know when we spoke about this originally with our city manager, he said, well, normally we make a position after it's on the ballot, and I understand that. This is very unusual to take a stand before something is not even an initiative, but I think that this is so important that we have our control of our own local government and our own neighborhoods that I think, and as I understand it, they need to gather enough signatures by April 1st to even qualify that I think we need to join with all those other cities and make our voices heard. So thank you for doing this, and I certainly am in support.
I'd like to just echo what Mayor Pro Tem Litster just said, and I agree. Anything that we can do to put control in the hands of the people. And if in fact the city manager said that, well, has the city manager looked at the way they write ballots now? How could anybody understand them? They're written to fool us, so we got to get a head start. So there you go, buddy. Okay, ready for a motion.
I fully support this motion. I'm ready to make a motion as soon as everybody's done giving their comments.
I think Councilmember Levinos wanted to have after we spoke.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. I just want to remind this council that we all swore an oath to uphold the U.S. and the California state constitution. All of us did that. Every single one of us up here. And it is not for us to usurp state authority. We are not state legislators. We are city council members. We are granted municipal authority from the state. And we as a city have gotten 3 letters from HED because we have not done our part to meet the RENA requirements. We have never met the RENA requirements for low and very low income housing. We have met the general because of the moderate and above moderate housing, but never for low and very low income housing. We even have city employees that are in Section 8 housing here in the city. Our city mission, may I remind you, is to deliver excellent customer service to our community by providing a safe and healthy living environment, sound fiscal management, responsive customer service, and an atmosphere that encourages community involvement and volunteerism through a local government that is accessible, efficient, and accountable to its citizens. These state laws make us accountable to our citizens. AB 68, which allows ADUs, of which many of our residents have apprised themselves of, has streamlined the process for many of us 3-generation households. And I include myself in that number, even though I haven't built my ADU yet. However, there are a number of 3-generation households like mine that are greatly benefiting from having those ADUs there. Because there is no affordable housing here, parents are moving in with their children, and children are moving in with their parents, and kids that are growing up are having to live with their parents because there is no affordable housing here. SB 330, which limits cities from blocking housing that is high density, is exactly the accountability in our mission statement that we need, that makes sure, and is the reason why we're having higher density developments. If it were not for SB 330, we wouldn't have some of the developments that we have. They wouldn't have made it through. And that's why we've gotten 3 letters from HCD. We are here to make sure that we provide excellent customer service in a safe and healthy living environment. We cannot do that. We cannot fight climate change. We cannot make sure that we address the issues of climate change and wildfires in our city, of which we have been impacted by greatly, if we do not build housing for our workforce here. We cannot attract businesses and have sound fiscal management if we do not have housing for the workers that live here. And most of the jobs that we've brought into the city have not been high-income jobs for anyone that can afford a $700,000 or $800,000 home. They are jobs that are hourly wage jobs that require higher density, lower price homes. And so we have a responsibility to do that. We can fix the housing issue in Simi Valley. We, up here on the dais, can fix it by reaching out to affordable developers, by approving affordable developers, by making this a city where affordable developers know and nonprofit developers know that they can come here and that we're going to welcome them, we're going to work with them, and that we're going to build the kind of housing that we need to provide that excellent customer service to our citizens. And that is accessible to everyone, not just the super wealthy, not just those that have a lot of money that can afford a $1 million home here.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Lemus, I'm taking offense at what you're saying to suggest that by supporting our neighborhood values, that we don't support building homes and we don't support having ADUs on property is ridiculous. As another 3 generations.
Isn't that exactly what it overturns, though?
No, it doesn't.
Look at what it says.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. If you look at what we have in our general plan, in our housing element, there we do not. It does not overturn what's not being overturned is simply we have the right to make those choices. We're not stopping building homes. We're not. This doesn't even have anything to do with the RENA numbers. It has nothing to do with the RENA numbers. So we won't. Doesn't mean all of a sudden we aren't going to have to try to meet the numbers. And we've never, as attested to by our city manager, we have never turned down a project that has affordable units. I think you're equating or conflicting 2 different things. Simply, we want the opportunity to say, rather than 2 ADUs, which right now is an ADU and a junior ADU, maybe we'd like to say just 1 ADU is appropriate. We should have that right and that ability to make that decision. We should not have to tell our people who own horses and love living in that area and who've gone all that they can to build the horse property that, well, sorry, just because that neighborhood is for horses, we're not going to come in and say that you're going to have all these homes placed there because the state told us we have to do it. We should be able to have that in our community, just as we should be able to have the areas of the SROs on Taplow Street with single resident occupancy units. We need all of it, but we need to be able to make that decision.
We've had the ability to make that decision. For years and years, we have had the ability as a city council to make those decisions. And the fact that we got 3 letters from HCD telling us, you better step in line with the law or else.
It was one project.
That we have not made those right decisions.
Okay, ladies, I think we've discussed this far enough. You both did a good job of voicing your side of the issue. And with that,
I respect healthy debate. I'd like to hear more. But I move to adopt resolution number 2022-07 in support of our Neighborhood Voices Initiative, return land use authorities to the cities.
I'll second it.
you have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
You're chastising us.
The motion passes with Councilmember Luébanos voting no. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the next item on the agenda is item 8B, consideration of proposed revisions to the terms and conditions to the Memorandum of Understanding with the Simi Valley Police Managers Association, and Samantha Argerbright is presenting this item as well.
Good evening. The item before you is the proposed revisions to the terms and conditions of the Memorandum of Understanding with the Simi Valley Police Managers Association. The policy goals communicated to the negotiating team by the City Council for this negotiation included recognizing employees' commitment and dedication to the city and providing modest compensation increases while minimizing long-term costs to the city. Representatives of the Simi Valley Police Managers Association worked with the city's negotiating team toward an agreement. Staff has been meeting with representatives from PMA, and the proposed revisions to their MOU are before you for consideration. As referenced in the supplemental staff report for this item, following the tentative agreement reached by the parties, the Simi Valley Police Managers Association requested to retain language of the current agreement related to annual leave and implement constructive receipt in 2023. This change would modify Section 16, Section 17, and Section 19 as shown in the MOU that was presented with the staff report, and the affected sections have now been modified as shown in Attachment A to the supplemental staff report to reflect the requested language. Next slide. Oh, you got it? Okay. The agreement before you is for a 2-year term that includes 3.75% increase in salary increases over the next 2 years and a one-time 2% lump sum payment, and I will briefly review the proposed terms. The 3.75% salary increase would be effective upon council adoption, and the 2% one-time payment would be effective to employees following the implementation of the 3.75% increase. Effective for the calendar year 2023 and ongoing, the cash out of annual leave will be restricted to irrevocable elections made the prior December, and of the only that what time is earned during the calendar year in compliance with the constructive receipt doctrine of the Internal Revenue Service. And effective with the first pay period following City Council approval, the city will increase the 401k non-matching contribution from $150 per pay period to a total non-matching contribution of $350 per pay period, up to a maximum city contribution of $500 per biweekly paycheck, including the city's non-matching and matching contributions. PMA members will have the ability to convert salary to annual leave at the rate of 1 hour of earned salary compensation for 1 hour of annual leave, and there is no Me Too clause in this agreement. The cost of the 2-year agreement is $251,098.87, and the PERS normal cost is included on page 3 of the staff report immediately below the cost table. At this time, it is recommended that the City Council consider the proposed revisions to the terms and conditions of the MOU with the Simi Valley Police Managers Association as presented, and give the public an opportunity to provide input prior to making a final determination, and place this item on the February 28th City Council agenda for final determination. Thank you for your time. This concludes my report, and I'm available for questions.
Councilmember Luevanos. Oh, wait. Are you up? Okay.
Thank you. I was waiting for the feedback to stop. Ms. Argerbright, can you tell me how much of this $251,000 cost is PERSable?
Is PERSable? I can tell you what the PERS normal cost is. The salary increase is PERSable, and that is the only PERSable cost I believe that we have in this agreement.
Do you happen to know what that amount is?
The salary increase itself?
Yeah, like the amount that's PERSable, the salary increase amount that is PERSable. And by PERSable, let me just explain for the public that is what we have to pay for as a city for retirement, like forever.
I don't have that number broken down in front of me. I only have the total cost of the agreement, inclusive of the salary increases and the other benefits agreed to. But certainly that is something that we can calculate and return with a memo to boxes on.
Can we include that so that the public can have an opportunity to review that? Because we're going to give the public an opportunity to review this. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So can we, when we disseminate that information, can we make sure that that's included there? Because I get asked that question all the time.
Okay.
Is that possible?
Yes. We certainly can.
Yes.
Okay. And this is a total cost of $251,000 for 2 years for how many employees?
10.
For 10 employees?
Correct.
And is, one more question. I'm sorry, Mayor. Can I ask one more question?
Yes.
Is this comparable to the negotiations that were made with other employee groups for the city?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Comment?
Yes.
I can answer that question on the salaries.
Okay, go ahead, and then I'll go.
The current year salary is $18,522, and the next year's salary is $97,790, $93,790.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to thank our negotiating teams. This is our last MOU that has to be approved for the year, for the 2 years, hopefully, and Ms. Nash and Ms. Argabright, along with everyone else on the thing. I wanted to say thank you for all your time and effort and for taking care of the city as best you can. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I move to provide the public an opportunity to give prior to making a final determination on the revisions of the terms and conditions of the Memorandum of Understanding with the police management employees represented by the Simi Valley Police Managers Association, and move to place this matter on the February 28th, 2022 agenda for final determination on the proposed MOU.
I'll second it.
Okay. Have a motion and second. Call for the vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 9A, City Council member reports.
Okay, first up, Councilmember Luevanos.
Thank you, Mayor. On Thursday, January 27th, I, along with Councilmember Judge, attended the Affordable Housing Subcommittee meeting. I apologize for being a little tardy. I thought it was on Zoom, but it was in person, but I got here quick. I'm very excited about this proposal that is coming to the city. It's already gone to Planning Commission. I believe it'll come to us next. Is that correct, Brian? Yes? The proposal on...
Next meeting.
Yes, so on Topo Street and Cochrane, it's a beautiful mixed-use development. I won't talk about it. I don't want to violate the Brown Act, but there are some low-income affordable units in there that is something that community really, really needs. So I'm really excited about that. And the developer said he'd be even willing to work with us to provide more affordable housing units, which is obviously a great need that we have in the city, and it would help us meet our rental requirements for low and very low income units. So that was on Thursday, January 27th. On Thursday, February 3rd, I attended the Clean Power Alliance meeting, and we discussed there was an error by SCE on the billing. It impacted 15% of our customers. So if you notice a billing error that you weren't billed and then it looked like you were double billed the following month, that was SCE. So we're looking to transition so that we do our own independent billing and that we don't have to go through SCE, because it's not the first time that SoCal Edison has done this, where they have an error in billing, and it seems to happen disproportionately to Clean Power Alliance customers, unfortunately. But we are still pushing forward and for renewable energy. For those of you who want to opt into 100% renewable energy, we do have the program for low income people. You get a 20% discount, so if you're a low income resident, you want to opt into 100% renewable energy, that's wind, solar, hydroelectric, thermal, then you can opt in, and you would pay the same amount as a low income resident as you would pay for not 100% renewable. So you'd pay the same amount, so you wouldn't pay more. So I highly recommend for you to look into that program. We are still doing, for forgiveness of bills for those who were impacted by COVID. There is still money for that, so please apply for that. If you were impacted or continue to be impacted by COVID, we're here to offer financial support for you through the Clean Power Alliance. And then on Thursday, February 10th, I was unable to make the task force on homelessness meeting because I was at the Los Angeles Regional Water Board meeting, and that meeting ran really, really late. And that meeting was with regard to the discharge from the Santa Susana Field Lab runoff into our watershed. And so I wanted to make sure that we addressed the needs of our community. As you know, we have a very high incidence of cancer and allergies and asthma and all kinds of stuff for our residents. We have very high incidences of cancer clusters, and part of that is because of the discharge from the Santa Susana Field Lab that has yet to be cleaned up. So I was there fighting on behalf of our city and our residents to make sure that we don't have antimony and nickel and arsenic in our water being discharged into our water, because obviously that's something that impacts all of us. So There will be a continuation of that hearing on February 17th. That's this Thursday. You're all welcome to join in and make public comment about how the quality of our water impacts you and how you don't want these carcinogens. There are over 300 carcinogens that are released into our watershed, and 90% of them are allowed in by the Regional Water Board right now. And it takes all of us, the community, not just me, but all of us, to make our voice heard in terms of letting them know we don't want these carcinogens, these cancer-causing chemicals in our water because it impacts us. So I invite you to sign up for the LA Regional Water Board meeting on February 17th and join us in making sure that we get clean water here for Simi Valley. And that's my report. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Thursday, January 27th, I did attend the Housing Subcommittee meeting, the Affordable Housing Subcommittee meeting with Councilmember Webinos. On January 28th, I had a meeting with a citizen here in Simi Valley about a building he's trying to upgrade, one of his, it's like an ADU. On Wednesday, February 2nd, I attended the ribbon cutting for the Forever Found. They moved their location from behind the McDonald's on Taplow Street over to a nice office building in Wood Ranch next to the preschool there. On Thursday, February 3rd, I attended the SCAG Regional Council and the combined, I forgot what they called it when they combine all the committees together. It was a good meeting. There wasn't too much that was really movable for Simi Valley, but it was interesting topics. Mostly they talked about electric buses, they talked about things like that and the way we're moving forward. In those realms right now, though, there isn't a candidate that is workable on the long haul. They're trying to get that fixed. Simi Valley Ed Foundation, also on February 3rd, I was there with Councilmember Lister, or Mayor Pro Tem Lister, excuse me, honoring Melissa Estrada as Teacher of the Month that was from Burlwood Elementary. On February 4th, I attended the VCTC meeting where I put forth our desire to regionalize our transportation with that board. It was met with a lot of excitement. We'll see how that goes in future meetings. On Tuesday, February 8th, I again went to another Teacher of the Month, Simi Valley Ed Foundation, honoring Nyla Schweiger from Valley View Middle School. That was very nice. That was the day the wind was blowing really hard, but it was great to see those teachers. I was also there with Mayor Pro Tem Lister. It was nice to see those teachers get the accolades they deserve. On Thursday, February 10th, I did attend the Task Force on Homelessness. Councilmember Lovelos was at an important meeting, and I made sure I pointed that out during the meeting. So it went well. There wasn't too much to report out of that either. We're getting ready to start the count, so if you'd like to volunteer to help in the homeless count, please go to the Samaritan Center. They have classes set up for training, and they will help you get trained to do that. Today, I attended the Council on Aging, so I just want to say congratulations to their new officers. Their new chair is Bill Oliver, and the vice chair is Ed Tinkstrom. And that's the end of my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Friday, January 28th, whether you know or not, I'm in banking, so that's my regular pay my mortgage job. But I attended a webinar on the ACAMS, which is our compliance area, on human trafficking and money laundering. It was very, very interesting, and it focused on the Southern California coastline because that's where a lot of the trafficking goes on, as well as with when major events come to the area, such as the Super Bowl or things like that. The reason I'm mentioning that is because on Sunday, January 30th, myself and Mayor Pro Tem Litster attended a premiere of a new film called Wake Up. And it was produced and directed by two ladies from the Thousand Oaks area. Sorry, I don't remember their names. But it's on human trafficking. And it basically was from real stories. And I know there were a couple times Mayor Pro Tem Litster and I were just like, oh my God, this can't be real. And it really was real. It was put on by Seroptimus, Simi Valley, and they're very predominant in helping women and in fighting human trafficking. It was a once-in-a-lifetime movie for me, I think. The actors were there. They were phenomenal. The one gentleman, as we walked out, he played the bad guy. And I told him, I said, I wouldn't have told you I liked your sweatshirt if I knew you were the bad guy. Because he was so good. And I know Councilmember Lister made a comment to him too, but I'll let you, she can share that. But that was so wonderful of Sir Optimus to put that on, and it really is a major problem in our area. And it really comes down to the fact that you see something, say something, because you never know. You never know. Question something. I do that in my line of work all the time. We question something that just looks a little off. So keep that in mind. On Wednesday, February 2nd, I had our EDC Executive Board meeting. I'm officially the vice chair. So, and Harold from La Manera is the chair for this coming year. They will be putting out I always try and say what's going on with the EDC. That's the Economic Development Collaborative. It really helps our businesses. So Bruce, the CEO, is going to be putting out a monthly one sheet, what I call a one sheet, with all the webinars for the month, the things that are going on, the things that will be beneficial to our businesses. So I told him I'm really looking forward to that. It will make it easier to share. I know our city manager has been working with the EDC. We want to get something here in the East County. They have so many programs for our businesses that we just don't even know about. So it will really help our local businesses. And one of the comments that came up is the most new businesses coming up these days are going to be women and Latino owned. So we need to support those businesses because they're the only ones that are going to be starting out now and becoming entrepreneurs. And so that's something we really want to push. I even have some information on that in a book that I just received. I haven't finished reading it yet. It's from my work. So when I'm done reading it, I'll share. It was really good on the new generation of business owners. On Thursday, February 10th, we had our Ventura County Animal Services meeting. We just have them on quarterly basis. Everything's going great at the Camarillo shelter. We are in the process. They will be building the new shelter at the same facility. They finalized that with the Camarillo Airport Authority. I think that's the name. So that's very, very happy. They're in the process of selecting or making a contract with an actual architect that designs animal shelters. So we're having an expert. That shelter, if you've been there, it's old. I mean, it's done a great job, but it's old and it just needs to be replaced. So Jackie Rose is the director there, and she's really working on that and getting all that stuff open, or getting that stuff moving forward, keeping it. She's very excited about it. Just so you know, the shelter is open for appointments. You can go online, make an appointment. You choose an animal you want to see. You're first in line for the adoption. They've got it really organized for all this COVID time. Hopefully when COVID's over, you'll be able to go. I still want to get a kitty, but I want to go and meet the kitties. You know, I need one that's going to be okay with a 2-year-old. So I still want to do that, but I encourage anyone. They have a lot of dogs. So if you're in the market for a dog, young, medium, old, high energy, low energy, please give them a shot. They've got a great crew out there, but those dogs like to go home. And I did mention at the last meeting that the foundation received $51,000 in donations from the Betty White Animal Challenge to donate money to your local charity or your local animal shelter. So that was great. I wanted to say happy Valentine's Day to everyone out there, and I hope you had a good day and a great rest of the week. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Litster.
Thank you, Mayor. On Wednesday, January 26th, I attended the Legislative Chamber meeting put on by the Chamber of Commerce, and I will encourage anyone who'd like to attend that because they really get representatives from various places to discuss the legislation that's before our state legislature on the federal level. It just is an excellent opportunity to become educated. So I encourage anyone who has time to attend that monthly or bi-monthly meeting that they have. On Sunday, January 30th, as Councilmember Kavanaugh mentioned, we attended the Sir Optimus annual human trafficking awareness event, which was the viewing of that movie, Wake Up. And the filmmaker was Janet Craig, who starred and directed, and I'm not sure who the other woman's name was. It truly was educational, disturbing, enlightening. In fact, the next few days, every time I see a van driving around, I'm looking suspiciously, I confess, at the driver. It truly was a well done documentary, informative movie. I wanted to thank our law enforcement that attended. I know that our chief was there and he spoke, as it was our deputy chief, Shorts, was also there, and they spoke about the efforts here in Simi Valley to do all that they can in that arena. And so anyway, appreciate their support there as well. And Councilmember Judge mentioned the Forever Found ribbon cutting. They too were there as a supporting entity. And congratulations, I was also there at that ribbon cutting, and that was held the following Tuesday, I believe it was. But their mission is preventative and restorative programs for at-risk youth. And so I don't think I realized what a presence they had, that they were headquartered in Simi, and I apologize that I learned much. But they are integrally involved in protecting youth of the area and around the world in providing safe havens for those who are caught up in such an atrocity. So thank you for all their efforts. And thank you for the Seroptimus for putting that event on. On Tuesday, February 1st, I attended the Youth Council meeting, and they're doing great things. They're planning for their combined Town Hall Youth Summit, which will be an all-day event. And I knew as soon as I mentioned it, I would forget the date. And so I'm sorry, next time I will be sure and broadcast the date so that everyone is ready to be there, and students can plan to take the day and participate. On February 3rd, Thursday, I too attended the Joint Policy Committee meeting of SCAG. I sit on the Energy and the Environment Committee, whereas Councilmember Judd sits on the Transportation Committee. And I think most of the topics were about transportation for the region, and I appreciate that because that's not so much what I get. And so it was very informative. On Sunday, well, actually, I too attended the Ed Foundation Teacher of the Month presentations for Melissa Strata of Burlwood, and also the one the following week for Nyla Schweiger on February 8th. Appreciate our educators in our community, really outstanding men and women who work with our youth. I just had to tell something funny. It was so cute that Nyla on February 8th, she's also in charge of leadership, and they were having a pajama day. And the principal did not mention to her that she was going to be a recipient, and she looked wonderful in her red silk pajamas. So I just had to mention that in honor of Valentine's Day, most appropriate. But going back, on Sunday, February the 6th, I had the honor of attending President Reagan's birthday celebration at the Reagan Library. It was a wonderful event, and the speaker was former speechwriter for President Reagan, Peggy Noonan, and who is currently a Wall Street Journal columnist. And she was so articulate and was really inspiring. One of the things that I walked away with is that she expressed that President Reagan's, she talked about his use of humor and how important that was, and that sometimes we take ourselves far too seriously, and we'd get a lot more done if we interjected a little bit more humor in what we do and say here. And so I took that to heart, and I'll try to be a little more humorous. For example, she gave the quote that President Reagan said, "It's true that hard work never killed anybody, but I figure why take the chance?" And so I think much to be learned there. But again, wanted to wish a happy Valentine's to everyone. This weekend I played the harp for 5 hours at a big at a Valentine's celebration down Long Beach, and I got to appreciate others celebrating, and so that was my celebration for Valentine's. But anyway, thank you to all, and appreciate you being here this evening.
Okay, my turn. I have a short list compared to you folks, but start with the RDP 21 group. We just did extended the contract with the director, who is Gene Fisher, who is a great leader of that organization. And I do have copies of the contract and what it's all about. If you want them, I can put them in your mailboxes. But good move by RDP 21. Also, I met with Jennifer Swinson, the director of the Simi Adventist Hospital, and all we did was discuss the hospital in very general terms and potential for expansions, if they're there or not. And it'll be difficult because they're so landlocked, but at least there's discussions in place and looking on how to change parking and what have you to add space. Also, she's going to be the chair of the chamber, or president of the upcoming chamber. Anyway, so we had some discussions about the direction of the chamber and what have you. But like I say, once again, very general in nature. With that, would like to say, good job, Rams. That, you know, and I learned during the game that there's an individual who I forgot his name, and he's a starter with the Rams, and he lives here in Simi Valley and is known to be a very nice man. And so when you see this guy that's 6'3" or 4" and 300 pounds, congratulate him. Whatever you do, don't smart off. But at any rate, congratulations to the Rams for their performance. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. And 2 days, and these go away. And I'm looking forward to that, and I'm sure many of you are. And that's my report. Okay, we'll go to 9B.
Mayor, I have 2 requests.
Okay.
Are we on 9B? I just want to make sure. Yes? Okay.
Yeah.
So my first request is, you know, James Baldwin stated that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. In alignment with Councilmember Kavanaugh's comment about most of the new entrepreneurs in the city being Latinas, women of color, I suggest that we follow what other cities have been doing and form a Truth and Reconciliation Committee in order to foster healing, in order to promote people of color, especially business owners that are the future of the city, as Councilmember Kavanaugh stated, and so that we can begin to heal in this city with some of the divisions that we have had and that we have seen. Once we face it, then I know that we can effectuate change. I know that there are a lot of good people in this community, and I know that by forming this Truth and Reconciliation Committee, we can begin the healing process so that we can move forward as a community. So I'm asking for a second for the Truth and Reconciliation Committee for the city of Simi Valley so that we can begin to move forward, confront our past, and heal.
I would like to know more about that before, you know, what the background is, what we want to do with it. It's not a bad, it's a good idea. I just like a little bit more before we put it into action, a little bit more information on it.
Can I ask for staff to work with staff or to examine with staff to form that, to flesh it out?
We can do some research and provide to the council boxes. More than happy to do that, and anything that you may have on it, please send it our way, and we'll put something together.
Okay, thank you. And again, in alignment with Black History Month, I think it's only fitting that we begin to confront, you know, the painful past of many minorities in this community. The second request I have, Mayor, is to reevaluate our bus system. There was a lot of talk tonight about public transportation. I know that you know, a couple years ago we reevaluated the bus system and we modified them. It seems that there is a need. There is our new normal now with this pandemic, and I definitely, you know, would like to see us get those electric buses with Wi-Fi. I think that alone would encourage people to ride the bus. But I've had, you know, people tell me that they can't, you know, get to Moorpark College anymore riding the bus. Maybe look at doing a community survey to see where we are lacking and how we can increase ridership. Maybe even offer free rides for K-16 students to encourage parents to ride. So could we reevaluate our bus system? Is that possible?
I want to hear from the city manager on that, because it seems to me that they're in constant evaluation, that it's like a live project.
I'd like the public to have input. I'd like it to be, you know, something that we bring here as a city council so that everyone can come and have input.
Okay.
So in 2018, we did an extensive short-range transit plan that evaluated the entire bus system many meetings with the public. It was conducted by a consultant looking for input on the system itself and its accessibility and ability to deliver patrons to where they want to go. Every year, we do an unmet needs analysis that the county does, Ventura County Transportation Mission does, as well as individual bus operators, and we are included. So we do that analysis every year. That includes public input. As Councilmember Judge indicated, there is currently an analysis underway at VCTC right now, talking about regionalism of all the bus systems throughout Ventura County in order to increase connectivity of, in particular, as it relates to Simi Valley, our connectivity to other communities and other things in Ventura County. So a lot of those things are already happening now. And so and the unmet needs is an analysis that's done on a regular basis.
Is that something that's available on our city website so that the public can provide input to that? Or do they have to go to different websites? Like, is our city bus on one and then the county's on another one? That's why I'm asking, because that's why I want it to be on the agenda so that there's a coordinated effort.
If it is not on our website, we can certainly check and make sure it is on there. We can certainly, and we link to Ventura County Transportation Commission as well. So we'll make sure we're connecting to provide that information to the public.
Okay, can I get a timeline, like in a month or 6 months or?
Well, website's just about to change. I would say within the next 45 days.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I have one that I would like to bring back for consideration is the hybrid meetings. I think that needs to be discussed again.
And when you say hybrid meetings, you mean, with the
Zoom
online
open
and,
to
gotcha, okay.
To the internet, I guess is the best way to say it. It's with the hybrid, that just means
Gotcha.
the world can look at our meetings and comment on. So I'd like that to come back. Do I need, okay, could I have a
That's
second?
fine, I second for me, sure.
Thank you. What? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I do have one thing, and I've spoke with Mr. Gabler about this, but I think I'd like to make it a request. I'd like to make it a formal quarterly, maybe that we have some type of a meeting with. I heard, for instance, we sometimes get people who have concerns about school district or parks or whatever, and I just think it might be nice if we could have a regularly scheduled tri-regional or tri-agency discussion.
I'd like to say, I want to second that, but I do want to also say that we've tried it and numerous times.
That's what I understand. I guess I want to see it tried again.
Yeah,
There's a
well,
way-
I don't disagree with you, but know that it's almost like a shot in the dark,
Well, and I don't think it can be all 15 people. Likely it's two from each. Two from each agency.
Right,
Two electeds from each.
And that's the way it was, and it was such an empty meeting that it became useless. So anyway, that's a warning.
I
thank
will
you.
second that because we did form that. I do want accountability on behalf of the public. I want to know why it fell apart. If it was on our behalf, then we need to be held accountable. If it was on behalf of other agencies, then everyone needs to be accountable. We have people here in the audience who want answers from Parks and Rec and School Board and from us as well. And I think they're entitled to that. We serve them. We are their public servants.
Well, I'm not arguing that point at all, but I also remember that they are their own jurisdiction. So
Absolutely.
we're very, very much advisory on.
Yes, but we also just agreed to fund $1 million for the pool for RSRPD. So
Because that's for a community thing, and they're going to give free days.
I think we
we
heard
pay
what
crossing guards. So
I think we heard what the desire is, and we're violating the Brown Act.
We will make contact with the parks and schools and try and set something up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? No one else? Yeah, it's time for adjournment, the part I don't like, oftentimes. You'd think it would be the best part of the meeting. Tonight, we're going to adjourn in memory of Linda Martins Mann, and I have to point out that that is not a relative of Alan Mann, one of our planning commissioners. Yeah, so it could be confusing. Jessica Freeman, Isabel Mary Ness, who is also a Grinstead. For many people know Joe Grinstead as his sister. And one we learned of late this afternoon was Bruce Strathern, one of the founders of this community in reality, and a huge name and family in our city. And sorry to see Bruce go. And also Catherine Nazini. Did I say that right?
Yes.
I don't want to say her name wrong.
Yeah, Mr. Lepper had mentioned her earlier.
Yes, and unfortunately, we became aware that she has passed. So tonight, we will adjourn in those folks' memory, and each will be sent the certificate that comes from the city. And with that, this meeting's adjourned.